Something big is brewing in Santa Clara, and it's not just another hallway rumor. Today we've got backroom movement on the pass rush, a domino effect in the division standings, a decision that could shift the command of the offense, and a medical return capable of shaking up the hierarchy in the secondary. Sounds like a lot? We're just getting started. There's shock, strategy, nerve, and real consequences for January. Who do you think needs to take responsibility when the clock squeezes? You won't believe what we've got today, so take a seat, drop a like, and let's dive straight into the news. Now, the wound left by Nick Bosa's injury hasn't healed, and the impact was immediate. The pass rush lost its killer instinct, and in the first game without number 97, the 49ers defensive line didn't register a single hit on the opposing quarterback, a stat that nags, a void that worries. Kyle Shanahan acknowledged the dilemma. Keeping the defense's DNA without resorting to risky blitzes is almost impossible without an elite closer. It was the spark that sent the front office diving into the market for a finisher who can deliver impact over the next few weeks. Among the options, a familiar face reignited the flame in Santa Clara, Arden Key, now with the Tennessee Titans. He knows the ecosystem, the calls, the tempo, the culture. He played for the 49ers in 2021 under defensive line coach Chris Kokorek and logged 6.5 sacks that year, exactly within the wide nine attack-first system that defines San Francisco's style. The fit is natural. Familiarity with the scheme makes the adaptation immediate and reduces the margin for error. That's why Key's name suddenly started echoing through league corridors. And it's not just fan chatter. Sports Illustrated floated the scenario. Arden Key to the 49ers in exchange for a 6th-round pick, arguing the Tennessee Titans at 0-4 could become sellers before the trade deadline. On a roster heading toward a reset, flipping a useful veteran for draft capital makes logical sense. Financially, the deal works. Key is in the third year of a 3-season pact valued at $21 million, with a $6.5 million base salary and roughly a $9.29 million cap hit in 2025. For a contender like the 49ers, the bill is light. The acquiring team would only absorb the prorated slice of his base after the trade. With no guaranteed years beyond the current contract, he'd function as a classic rental through March 2026, perfect for a win-now team. Behind the scenes, the buzz is growing. Last Word on Sports and Heavy have also pointed to a potential bridge between San Francisco and Tennessee, both reinforcing the idea that Key could be Bosa's tactical stand-in. And that checks out. He's not coming to be the new star, but the necessary complement, the player who squeezes the pocket when the opponent tries to escape pressure. The trade deadline is November 4th, 2025, and until then, everything hinges on two variables: the pass rush's output over the next couple of weeks and the Titans' direction. If production stays below expectations and Tennessee embraces a seller's role, Key returning to Santa Clara stops being rumor and turns into reality. And that, let's be honest, is the kind of move that can change the mood of an entire locker room. There's something different about this 4-1. It isn't just the number in the standings, it's the weight of the circumstances. The 49ers started the year without their starting tight end, without their most dominant edge, without their number one wide receiver, and for long stretches, without the quarterback who became the face of the turnaround. And even so, they're on top. When the ball is kicked and the fight begins, this team keeps finding ways to win. And what happened on Thursday Night Football against the Rams wasn't just a triumph, it was a message to the entire division. San Francisco left Los Angeles with a 26-23 overtime win, the kind of game that reveals character more than talent. It was the third victory within the NFC West. The others came over Seattle and Arizona, and that completely changes the season's chessboard. To the casual fan, it may look like a hot streak, but those who live this team know that's 3 divisional wins in the first quarter of the season. 3 wins that are worth gold in January. The memory still stings. In 2024, the Niners finished 6-11 with only 1 victory inside the division. Poorly managed games, questionable decisions, a team that looked soulless. Now the story is different. Kyle Shanahan rebuilt the mindset. He understood that every matchup with a direct rival is a playoff game disguised as a regular season date. And with 3 wins already banked, the 49ers have at minimum guaranteed a split with everyone in the NFC West date. It may sound like a detail, but it's the kind that decides whether the team plays postseason games at home or on the road. The difference between a packed Levi's Stadium in January and a freezing trip to Philadelphia can be borne out of these wins in September and October. That's why this start carries so much weight. There's more. The only loss so far came against the Jacksonville Jaguars out of conference. In other words, the 49ers are virtually unbeatable inside the NFC. And when tiebreakers turn on conference record, that's the kind of trump card that changes seeding outcomes. Right now, San Francisco sits second in the conference behind the undefeated Eagles. What makes this even more optimistic is the calendar. Multiple starters are close to returning. Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, and a team already leading, while shorthanded should only get more dangerous as it gets whole. Tactically, Shanahan rediscovered something essential: offensive patience. The ground game is back to being the offense's metronome, and even without stars, the system works. The clock moves, the defense breathes, and the O-line sustains long drives. In critical moments, the defense doesn't break, it bends without breaking. That balance separates promising teams from ones truly ready to contend. Perhaps the most symbolic aspect of this stretch is mentality. In Santa Clara, the group isn't celebrating every win like a title. It feels like a mission in progress. The locker room talks about consistency, about not wasting the window. The absence of headliners didn't become an excuse, it became fuel. And fans recognize that DNA, the same one that made Levi's Stadium shake in 2019 and 2022. While national media tries to decipher how a battered roster keeps humming, Shanahan and his staff know the answer: culture. The same system that gives Purdy a chance to shine keeps the offense productive with any quarterback. The same discipline that anchored Bosa's defense sustains the unit even without him. This 4-1 is more than a stat. It's a quiet statement that San Francisco is back among the elite, that 2024's collapse was an aberration, not a trend, and that every NFC West game is indeed a step toward January. The fans feel it. The atmosphere around Santa Clara changed, from worry to expectations, from will it work to no one's stopping us. A team that looked disfigured has started to find itself again, and when that machine clicks, the rest of the league usually learns the hard way. And that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. Few would have bet this in August. Mac Jones becoming one of the season's most fascinating 49ers stories. He arrived as Plan B, maybe Plan C, signed to be Brock Purdy's quiet backup, the guy who'd study the playbook, take a few preseason snaps, and fade back into anonymity. But football loves to disrupt predictable scripts, and that's exactly what happened. With Purdy sidelined by turf toe, Jones was thrown into the fire. What looked like the start of a collapse turned into one of the most unlikely chapters of the Shanahan era. In 3 starts, the former first-rounder completed 2/3 of his passes, threw 6 touchdowns to just 1 interception, and averaged a jaw-dropping 301.7 yards per game, the best in the NFL over that stretch. The result? 3 wins, 0 losses, and an entire city rethinking what it knows about quarterback systems. The game against the Rams was the turning point. On Thursday Night Football, in a divisional showdown, Jones didn't just run the offense, he inspired the locker room. He battled cramps in the 4th quarter, limped, gritted through it, stayed on the field, and led the overtime game winner. That image of him exhausted on a knee after the decisive field goal became a symbol of commitment. He wasn't the kid ripped in New England anymore. He was a competitor in red and gold, ready to bleed for the badge. Naturally, that opened the inevitable debate. What happens when Purdy is 100%? Reports already hint the starter remains in doubt for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, and Shanahan hasn't hidden that the decision will be medical and emotional. The dilemma is simple in theory, but complicated in practice. Purdy is the $65 million quarterback, the face of the franchise, the long-term project. Jones is the temporary stand-in, the veteran on a comeback. But how do you ignore a locker room that thumps with him under center? The experienced Shanahan seems to grasp the moment. He won't fall into the QB controversy trap, but he has no reason to rush Purdy either. The team is winning, the offense is flowing, and Jones is showing command of the system. He reads defenses quickly, gets the ball out efficiently, and above all, transmits confidence. On a team that's weathered so many injuries, that emotional stability is priceless. The real question hovering over Santa Clara isn't who is the better quarterback, but who the team needs right now. Purdy is the future, no doubt, but the present demands stability, and Jones is providing exactly that. He's not trying to be a hero, just executing. Ironically, that simplicity has reactivated the best of Shanahan as a strategist. On the sideline, the chemistry is obvious. Jones looks at the coach and nods with conviction. The calls are clean, the tempo steady, and belief seems grow every drive. It's a marriage of convenience that's working, and the fans feel it. The stands are loud again, and national broadcasters have started to talk about San Francisco not only as resilient, but as a legitimate contender, even without its starting quarterback. Of course, the cold logic says as soon as Purdy is ready, he returns. Nobody in Santa Clara disagrees, but what Jones is doing is subtler and deeper. He's redefining the backup's role, turning it into a tool of stability and morale. He proved that in a team with culture and leadership, even second options can become protagonists when the lights burn hottest. Curiously, in other franchises this would become drama. Here, it's become pride. Shanahan has always preached that his system elevates whatever talent he has. For the first time since 2019, that philosophy is being tested to the limit, and it's working. The locker room knows, the fans feel it, and the rest of the league is starting to notice. While many teams crumble without their stars, the 49ers grow, because in the end, it's not just about who throws the ball, it's about who believes, and honestly, that's the kind of dilemma every franchise dreams of having. But hold that thought, because what comes next shakes the defense's future and could completely change the roster's internal balance. When Kyle Shanahan stepped to the podium on Friday and spoke about Malik Mustafa, the mood in Santa Clara shifted. It wasn't just a medical update, it was a sign of transformation. The coach confirmed the team hopes to open the safeties practice window on Monday after months away with an ACL tear suffered at the end of last season. What seemed like good news for the defense quickly revealed a bigger internal dilemma. Mustafa's return ends a long wait, but starts a new headache for the staff, because whenever a key piece comes back, someone loses snaps. This time, the name under the spotlight is rookie Marquise Sigel, the current starter who may see his job evaporate as soon as Mustafa straps on the helmet again. The logic is straightforward. Shanahan and the defensive staff know what Mustafa brings. Before the injury, he was the secondary's silent motor. Physical, disciplined, quick to diagnose, a constant presence in the box, he gave the defense stability against the run and consistency in zone coverage. He made the system predictable only to those executing it, and a nightmare for those trying to attack it. Sigel, on the other hand, has been the opposite of that security. Through 5 games, he's been the unit's most vulnerable spot. Against the Rams, Matthew Stafford exposed him painfully, 5 completions on 6 targets, 127 yards allowed, and a 118.8 passer rating when throwing at him. Those are the kinds of numbers that keep any coordinator up at night. Worse, when the ball is in the air, he seems to freeze. He's often in phase but hesitates at the decisive instant. That's what separates a promising defender from a playmaker. The outcome feels inevitable. Fans are already calling for change. Bay Area radio is full of callers asking if it's worth sticking with the rookie when a healthy veteran is on the verge of returning. The local press echoes the same sentiment. Mustafa brings something the current mix lacks: reliability. There are nuances. Mustafa's coming off a serious injury, and Shanahan has indicated the process will be gradual. No one is dropping a just-cleared safety into 60 snaps. He'll be reintroduced slowly, in specific packages, testing movement, reaction, and contact. Even with that caution, the message is clear: Sigel is on the clock. There's a human factor. In the locker room, veterans know Mustafa is more than a player. He's a voice. His absence was felt, and his return lifts the room. Players like Jason Pinnock, who maintained the standard, gain even more confidence when paired with that kind of quiet leadership. A defense that's already the team's heartbeat can become even more aggressive and synchronized. Some will say this swap is a blessing in disguise. Even if Sigel loses the job, he gains time to breathe, correct fundamentals, and learn. The potential is there, but the pro game is cruel. Promise isn't enough, you have to produce. While he stumbles, Mustafa is ready to reclaim his throne. Strategically, the return reshapes how the coordinator builds sub-packages. With Mustafa available, the 49ers can toggle between 2 high shells and aggressive rotations, with one safety spinning and the other rolling into the box. A versatility that disappeared without him. That opens doors to more creative third-down calls, something the team has missed in recent weeks. In the end, what looks like a simple name swap is actually a reminder of this roster's depth and culture. In San Francisco, nobody has a guaranteed seat. Every snap is earned. Mustafa's coming back, and the whole locker room knows what that means. The defense's balance shifts, the tenor of practice changes, and maybe the season's destiny moves with it. And if this 49ers season is already about overcoming and rebirth, nothing symbolizes that better than seeing a warrior return from a major injury to retake his place. But here's the question that won't leave a fan's mind. Is Mustafa's return the final piece this defense needed to get back to elite, or the first spark of a new internal competition about to explode? If you took a deep breath today, there's a reason. The 49ers are 41, they control the NFC West, they're exploring an immediate pass rush reinforcement, they watched Mac Jones steady the ship while Purdy heals, and they're awaiting Mustafa's return, an addition that could reorganize the secondary and crank up third-down aggression. This is a resilient, tactical, hungry team. The window is open now. Would you bet on landing a rusher like Arden Key? Would you rest Purdy one more week? And who should start when Mustafa is back? Drop your take below, share with another fan, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.